Good evening, happy Monday, and welcome to the #1 Group of Five college football show in the history of the world. This is the Group of Five guys, and our mission is to be the voice for the Group of Five football programs, the voice that the mainstream sports media absolutely will not be. We need your help to do that. We need you to hit the follow button on all the social media platforms at Group of Five guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcasts. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a 5-star rating and a review. Most importantly, tell your family and friends all about us. On this Maction episode, we should have done it on a Tuesday, we bring our good buddy Alex on to potentially school us again with his MAC predictions. I've got to talk about my short but incredible weekend in Buffalo. And we're going to make our picks for the MAC and plenty more. Hope you enjoy the show. This is the Group of Five guys, and we are coming to you live.
I admire how much focus and energy you're putting on this part of college football.
At each other, we was like, Mike, the best place to be is a Group of Five. So I'm sitting here with the Group of Five guys, right?
Troy has won. It's been a winner, and it's a special place. So it's why you want the job.
But it's a ton of fun to watch a guy go to the NFL from a Nevada or a Colorado State or a Middle Tennessee or an App State, and fans follow that kid.
Those across there, you want to have this thing packed out, have the student section packed out, giving those guys hell on the sideline. I mean, that's part of it. I mean,
win or lose, like, we're winning the tailgate.
There's no better place to be developed in this country than Boise State.
Hey, before we get into the show tonight, we got to give a shout out to Believe Network. We mentioned a couple weeks ago that we've partnered up with them this season. They've got an incredible smorgasbord of podcast hosts, great sports shows, bunch of different conferences, teams, NFL, professional sports, NBA, all that. Make sure you check out Believe Network. You can catch our show on there. A lot of really good shows on there. Make sure you go and support all of those guys. Also, got to give a shout out to our partners at Gridiron Spice Company. The only spice you need for this tailgating season, which is quickly approaching. You better order now if you want this stuff by week 0 or before to give yourself a little test run. Make sure you go to gridironspiceco.com. Use our promo code GOFG. Maction time.
Yes,
boys and girls.
Well, you got to introduce Sprouse. I'm
going to do it. I'm going to do it now, and I'm going to allow Alex to plug all of his stuff now because I will get too distracted as the show goes on. So we've had John multiple times. We've had John, up at Oxford, at Miami 2 years ago. Is this the third year for the specific to the MAC preview? I think.
Yeah, I think it is.
Well, Alex, welcome back, my friend. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody where they can find you and your show.
Well, first off, guys, thank you so much for having me. As always, I always look forward to doing this preview with you guys because it's a lot of fun. You guys bring a lot of knowledge to the table, and it makes it a lot more fun all around. But MAC Sports Connection, you guys can find really anywhere podcasts are, part of the Varsity Podcast Network through Lairfield. You can listen on the Varsity Network app. You can listen on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple, really wherever podcasts are, we're available. The MAC Sports Connection podcast. Trying to grow our social medias a little bit. X has been our most formidable outlet at the MAC Sports or at the MSC podcast. You can find us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. I think that's about it. And Facebook at the MSC podcast. So again, thank you guys for having me. Looking forward to this.
Well, the last 2 years, you have correctly predicted the champion of this conference. So we will see if you'll do it again. I got a sneaky suspicion that this year we're all going to be in a little bit more of agreeance than typically. But I'll save that for about an hour and a half or 2 hours from now when we make our picks. But let's recap the conference a little bit from last year. So Ohio gets the win, which, of course, Alex predicted. Then Tim Albin takes off and heads to Charlotte. This year we got UMass officially in the MAC and officially in the Group of Five. I mean, we haven't really covered UMass or any of the independents until we'll get UMass this year. And, the big splash of the offseason in the MAC is Eddie George going to Bowling Green to be the head coach. So a lot of stuff happening, but we'll start with storylines or question marks. I'll start with you, Jeff, on this, but give me your biggest storyline or question mark or both going into the season for the MAC.
So the biggest question mark that I had, I'm going to stay right with the defending champs, is can Parker Navarro and a lot of returning players from last year's championship team, can they get back to the championship with losing Tim Allen as their head coach? I mean, anytime you lose a coach like that, it obviously is a huge blow to your program. But they're returning a lot of pieces, get a huge piece back at the running back position. So that's my biggest question mark. How important was Tim Albin to this team, or was it more the players?
Players make the plays, Jeff, but we'll see. For me, the biggest storyline that I have, interesting as I'm looking through these rosters, and maybe it's happened elsewhere, but it seems like more so in the MAC. The storyline for me is, you mentioned Bangura leaving Ohio and then coming back to Ohio. And then you also got Daquan Finn leaving the MAC and then coming back into the MAC. So I feel like this is anecdotal here for me, but I feel like we've seen more players that try to go to the greener pastures and they realize it real quick and they come on back home, leave a key under the mat in the MACtion. Now, whether or not you came back to your same team or not, I'm sure Toledo, they're happy with their quarterback, but I'm sure they're like, well, hey, what the hell? Going over there to Miami. So that's my storyline here, is these guys coming back into the MAC. Will they be as successful as they were before they left? Alex, I'll go to you. Biggest question mark or storyline in 2025?
6 new head coaches. That is an incredible turnover for the Mid-American Conference. Some a little later, some a little earlier. But you alluded kind of to the idea of Eddie George being kind of the big splash hire. But this league has a lot. Matthew Drinkle taking over at Central Michigan, Mike Uremovich taking over at Ball State. Like, there are a lot of new coaches in position, maybe not to win right away, but to kind of right the ship for some of these programs that have been struggling the last couple of years. And I want to see, my biggest storyline is who can right most of the ship here in year one.
I like it. Well, let's get into it. Let's get into some players. We always start with the offense. I'll start first. I think this is an obvious one, and Jeff already brought him up, but Parker Navarro, right? I mean, this guy, we got a chance to see him down at the Cure Bowl last year. And I mean, this guy just makes play after play. He's got, as the kids say, the dog in him. You're going to be missing some guys on the O-line this year. Going to be missing Anthony Tyus in the running game, but he brings back Bangura. So, maybe we'll see that balance out a little bit. But he threw for 2,800 yards, added another 1,000 yards, 31 total touchdowns. I will say, though, 11 picks. We've been talking about this in every conference preview, Jeff. We got to get that into the single digits or a little bit less if Ohio wants to repeat. What about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm going with Western Michigan running back Jalen Buckley. I love this kid. It's 700 yards, 9 touchdowns a year ago, averaging 5.3 yards per carry. But split time with Jaden Nixon, who was an absolute phenomenal running back as well. But now he's gone to UCF. In 2023, Buckley was a 1,000-yard rusher. So excited to see him kind of get the lion's share of carries this year for Western Michigan. It's his show. Dude, it's fast. He's fast. He's elusive. He can take it to distance every time he gets the ball in space. He also has great vision and patience. So excited for this guy to get kind of the number one full slate of the carries this year, because I think he's going to be a big reason why Western Michigan is a team that not a lot of people are talking about, but should be.
Wow. A little preview that they might be a dark horse for you, Jeff. Now, was it him? I always get them mixed up. Was it him or Nixon that was Genty's high school teammate?
Nixon, I believe. Yeah. Am I right? Am I right on that, Maxpert?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
How about that for a backfield in high school, though?
Proud of you.
You kidding me? Alex, what about you? Give me an offensive player to watch.
Man, y'all got to know this name, Al-J Henderson. You were just at Buffalo, so this should be a guy you know already. 1,000-yard rusher a year ago on just 204 touches. Averaged 5.3 yards per carry, had 9 touchdowns on the ground. This is I think, and maybe I'm getting too previewy, this is going to be one of the best running backs in the conference this year.
Ooh, I
I
like
like
it.
where you're going with that, Alex. Well, I'm going to go on defense, and I'm going to stick with Buffalo because they lose Sean Dolak, and if you're a casual, as they say, you're thinking, oh my God, they lose all their tackles. Well, guess what? Bad news for anybody that doesn't know about these Buffalo linebackers. Red Murdoch in particular, 156 tackles last year, 14 and a half tackles for loss. This is a guy that is all over the field. He had that big interception in the bowl game. This guy makes plays. He's going to be the leader out there along with Crawford, the other guy. But this Buffalo defense, again, not to get too previewy, as Alex just said, but Buffalo is going to be pretty scary defensively. Jeff, what do you think?
It's something about the Toledo Rockets that churn out great defensive backs, and my
Boy.
golly, they got another one. Avery Smith had 58 tackles a year ago, 2 interceptions, 14 pass deflections. I think he's going to turn a lot of those into INTs this year. He's a lockdown corner for the Rockets, second team all MAC. He's got great instincts. He's fast in and out of his cuts, breaking on routes. It's going to be a reason why the Rockets, as well, are going to be a great team this year, defensively especially.
Alex, what do you think?
Give me Emmanuel McNeil Warren out of Toledo. He played 8 games last year and finished 5th on the team in tackles. He had 61 tackles last year. He had 1 interception, 5 pass breakups. This is a guy who I think could really be a massive anchor to this team. He stays healthy. Watch out. Emmanuel McNeil Warren is going to be tough to beat for any wide receiver this year.
I like it. Look at Toledo, they just do, don't they?
Sure.
Yeah,
that's DBU, isn't it? You got it. I mean,
it has to be now, right?
It's got to be. And I don't know if you speak on that subject. Quinyon Mitchell, players voted him, I think, 49th best player in the NFL.
Wow.
Yep.
It's pretty
not bad
special.
for a guy from Toledo, right?
It's not bad. And it's not bad for a small school guy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk transfers. We talked about him a little bit. I'm going to go Bangura coming back to Athens, 1,800 career rushing yards already at Ohio. Now he comes back. Last year, Anthony Tyus was 22 in the country in rushing yards at Ohio. So Bangura, I think, with Navarro and the threat that he is to run the ball, I just think Bangura is going to – I know, Jeff, you liked him about 3 years ago at Ohio.
Sure did.
I remember you talking about him every week. And so I just think him coming back, I think he'll be hungry, to prove some people. I think when you leave and you don't have the success, I think people start really – I mean, for good reason, right? People are going to start doubting your ability. Mm-hmm. So I think he's going to go back with some hunger. It's not a go back and settle move. I think it's a go back and prove himself move for Bangura. Jeff, what do you think?
I agree with you on that note, especially about the guys coming back. This player also did the same thing. You mentioned him, Daquan Finn, leaves Toledo, goes to Baylor. And when he went there, him and Penny Boone, but I was like, guys, this is not it. This is not the move for either of you guys. It goes down there, he plays a couple games, doesn't do well. I just didn't think that he was the type of passer that Baylor was really looking for. Great athlete, can make things happen with his legs, but just didn't pan out. So he comes back to Miami, of all places. And, his last year at Toledo, he had 2,600 yards, 22 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and another 7 rushing touchdowns on the ground. He's a true dual threat type of guy. And I feel like in the MAC, when you have a dual threat guy that can run, make plays, especially when it's cold and it's wet and there's snow on the ground, like you kind of have to have a guy that can be mobile and get outside. And I think Daquan Finn is going to be great player, potentially offensive player of the year, maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
I want to add one more thing, Jeff, about what you said. It takes some humility to come back like that because, you could be prideful and just stay at Baylor or wherever and blame the coaches or blame anybody else or say, whatever, the NIL wasn't what you thought, or you could have all these excuses, but you come back and what most would say, you come down a level or whatever you want to call it. It takes some humility. But they also know, like we've been saying, you want the real bag. It's in the NFL.
No doubt.
And you got to play and you got to have stats and you got to have tape. And that's what you're going to get when you come back home, if you will.
And the last point I wanted to make here, I just saw it at the bottom of my little notes, and probably the biggest one, you got a championship under your belt. Like, it takes a lot to win a championship and know what that's like and know what it takes to get that. He's got one. He's coming back for potentially number 2.
How about that? How about if he gets one at another school?
Potentially
in the same conference.
Yeah.
Well, and look, and here's now I said one more thing. I'm going to say one other thing,
right? Because they lost to Miami.
Yes.
In 23, correct? Yep. So he could have had back to back, but now he goes to Miami. Going to try and bring one there.
You know, I know we said one last thing twice already, but I'm going to say it one more time. Here's the other thing. Okay, you know, if you're Ohio or you're Toledo or you're Miami, like, you got a real chance to win this conference. And I know it's an outside shot for the MAC, right? They have a stigma that's, you know, a bottom, you know, it's not one of the top 2, certainly. And most people would agree on that. But you mess around and put up 11 wins in the season in the MAC, you might have an argument to play for the playoff. You may not make it. Depends on what your teams like Boise and James Madison do. But Baylor, they're not winning. Like, they're not going to do that. You don't have a chance. You know what I mean? Whether Baylor's better or not, okay? It's not the argument here. It's you're a mid to bottom tier school in one of these Power 4 conferences. Like, they are not winning the conference. We know that. There's 3-4 teams in the SEC that we could say we'll take them or the field for the next 10 years, and I would take them. Same for all the other conferences. In the MAC, you give me Miami, Ohio, Toledo, NIU, Bowling Green, Buffalo. And I mean, they all got a shot. And UMass, as they come in, they might start having a shot pretty quick. So I think there's some realization of that too, that they might have come up with. But anyway, I'm getting long-winded. I want to get to your impactful transfer, Alex.
No, you're good. I just wanted to point out, you talk about anybody kind of having a shot in the MAC. Everybody but EMU, Kent State, and now UMass have won a championship in Detroit.
Wow.
They've been there for 25 years now. So truly, it's anybody can win this thing. We haven't had a repeat champion since 2011, 2012 when NIU did it to go to the Orange Bowl. So there's so much parity top to bottom. Bowling Green prevented them from winning 5 in a row. Like, it's just a whole thing. NIU had a chokehold on the conference in the mid 2010s. In case y'all missed that. But I think
a Heisman candidate as well.
Good old Jordan Lynch. But I think impactful transfer, Chip Trainum. And I know that this is probably not going to be the most popular take. Toledo's running back room was very weak last year. A big part of that was you didn't have a true bell cow who could just kind of just take it, barrel through people. You had Jacquez Stewart, who incredibly fast. Connor Wallensack, a great player, but not he didn't have an elite line. This year, Toledo's line is going to be better. And now you bring in a running back who scored a game-winning touchdown against Notre Dame 2 years ago, who had time at Kentucky, who played a couple years at Arizona State. He's got over 1,200 yards on his career in limited time in all of those games. I think this is a running back to watch out for Toledo. And now you give Tucker Gleason a little extra help in the backfield so that you can disguise a little bit more what you're running offensively. Makes this offense a lot more lethal than it was a year ago.
It's a great one.
I like it.
And we got Rocket Man in the chat just throwing shade right now. It says, how many Sun Belt Conference New York 6 bids have there been? He's got Conference USA 1, MAC 2, everyone else is 0.
Well,
numbers are the numbers, boys and girls. And people want to talk about the MAC not being a top tier conference.
A lot of
Don't
people,
let Liberty fans see that.
A lot of people like Toledo. And a lot of people like Toledo this year. I like them too. But so let's get into some of these teams. Let's start with the defending champs. We talked a little bit about them already. Of course, Tim Albin leaving for Charlotte. But let's talk about the Bobcats of Ohio. To me, Jeff, I'm going to let you speak on this more than anything. I talked about him earlier, but Parker Navarro, to me, he's the best quarterback in this conference. He's probably, I mentioned it on Twitter a few weeks ago. If I needed to win one game and needed a quarterback, I'm probably taking Parker Navarro. Maybe Blake Horvath, but that's a different style offense, right? But I like Navarro. I think he's one of the more underrated QBs in the country. altogether. I think he'll be a pretty much a household name by the end of this season. Again, you look at 1,100 yards rushing, 2,400 yards passing, and then you're going to, you had a top rushing attack last year. So can they keep that going? That's a little bit of my concern for the offense for Ohio. But, it's one of those teams to me where I don't know that outside of Navarro, I don't know that any position group that they have is going to be the best in the conference. But every position groom is one of the best in the conference. It's kind of how I feel about Ohio. So, it's funny. I'm gonna use a weird analogy for you here, okay, for you guys. So my dad trains used to train police dogs, and every year, they would come to the freaking elementary school and do their little demo, right, and the show the police would do their thing and the SWAT, and every time the canine people would say, do you know why we picked the German Shepherd? And I don't know if this is just BS to some elementary school kids, but it sticks with me. So do you know why we picked the German Shepherd? And everybody said, no, why do you pick the German Shepherd? Or the Malinois, right? It's like, well, okay, well, the dog with the strongest bite is probably a pit bull, but we don't use them. The dog with the best nose is probably a bloodhound, but we don't use them. The fastest dog, right? A greyhound, the biggest dog, great thing. We don't use any of these dogs. But the German Shepherd is pretty good at all of those things. That's what Ohio is to me. The German Shepherd of this conference.
I'm with you. And I think Parker Navarro is the reason why they're going to have a successful season this year. You have a lot of continuity on offense coming back, and there's just something to be said about a quarterback, especially that wins ball games. And he is just a winner. He's a gritty kid. He's got to clean up on the turnovers, got to get those down. I mean, you're almost, at a 50-50 ratio there. But when you add 1,000 yards on the ground, 18 additional rushing touchdowns, the kid's just an absolute weapon. He carved up Jack State right in front of our eyes at the Cure Bowl last year. He gets the running back in Bangura coming back. You have a lot of continuity coming back at the wideout position. His tight end Mason Williams comes back. I think their O-line's going to be very good as well. Defensively is what makes me nervous. Only 3 starters returning. You're just going to have a lot of new faces on that side of the ball. And then we're really going to see, the effect of Albin, I think. I think they are going to take a step back as a team, as a whole. But having a lot of the players back this year will pay dividends in the long run. I do have a name I want to keep an eye out that I was going through the rosters defensively. Evan Herman, he's a defensive end, transfer from Vanderbilt, from Wisconsin. He's a sophomore. And in high school, he had 9 sacks, right? Claims he runs a 4.5 on the tape. I'm not going to sit here and say he runs a 4.5. Dude is 6'5", legit 240, but is moving on his tape. So if this guy is that big, plays a little high, naturally as a tall defensive end, you kind of learn that as the years progress. He's got to play a little bit lower. But the dude has a motor. He's running all over the field, all over his huddle field. And I'm like, okay, I want to see this guy get some real tape up here in the MAC and see if he can use some of that speed to get around the edge. Could be a game wrecker. I don't know. He's only a sophomore. He's definitely raw. But Evan Herman's a name. Just keep it in the back of your head. Keep it in the back of your name.
Jeff, what hat do you have on tonight?
This is, let's see if I can go to my camera here. Under the Big Sky. It's a concert out in Montana that my lovely wife went to with her friend and brought me back a little souvenir cap.
Yeah, that's great.
It's a story.
Man.
I got to get
it's
out.
Not a Mac hat, though. I just want to point that out.
No, it's not. It's not.
I can't really see yours either, Alex. What's your hat?
Go Flashes, baby. Kent
State.
That's a bold statement.
I love the entire conference. You boys know that.
We'll get to them in about an hour.
Yeah. Alex, you got anything else on Ohio?
Yeah, what do you got on Ohio?
Teams?
You guys are very high on Ohio, and for good reason. This is a great offense. Parker Navarro was tied for last in the conference in picks thrown a year ago. Mm-hmm. You know who he was tied with? Mr. Brett Gabbert, who is with the Miami Dolphins now.
There you go, Sprouse.
Parker Navarro was 7th in passing yards a year ago. Parker Navarro had 13 passing touchdowns. And by my math, let's pull the old math machine up here. That was 10th in the conference in passing touchdowns. Mm-hmm. Parker Navarro, as much as I love him, benefited from a system that let him use his legs. That was a Brian Smith system. Brian Smith now taking over, kind of doing the head coach thing. this team is going to take a step back. You won your first championship in 56 years. Massive milestone. And I love that for Ohio. I love that I got to witness that as an Ohio grad student. Kind of a cool moment there. But this team is going to see a lot of defensive struggles early. You get Rutgers on the road, West Virginia at home, Ohio State on the road. Like, that is a tough non-conference slate that you have to figure out how to play football and how to play football quickly with 8 new starters on the defensive side, a couple new starters on the offensive side. You get into the MAC schedule, and then things get a little easier. But this is not going to be the same 10, 11 win Ohio team we've seen the last 3 seasons. They've been one of the 6 teams in the country to have 10 plus wins the last 3 years. They're going to struggle, and they're going to struggle a lot. I think Saban Gura coming back is going to be a help. But, to your point, he went to Minnesota. Things didn't pan out up there. Takes a lot to come back, not just to the conference, but to the school you left. He's going to have to re-earn that spot. Anthony Tyus being gone, that sucks. Ricky Hunt was a star in them for a bowl game, or for the bowl game a couple years ago. This is going to be a massive change, both offensively, defensively. I think some pieces will stay the same on the offensive side. Ohio's going to be a different team this year, and I don't know that it's for the better.
So where did you have them? I had them as a contender. I did not have them as a quote favorite. I had them in the contender category.
I did too. That's where I had them. I did not.
That's where I've got them.
So we're on
the way you sounded, Alex, you acted like they were going to lose every game. You acted.
I didn't say they were losing every game.
With Kent State.
I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year. But just because you're not as good doesn't mean you're not a contender. You can still win 7 games in the conference.
That's what I was going to say. And there was a time when 7-5 might put you in a championship game in the MAC. So, well, let's talk. So I think probably the favorite. I don't know what the Vegas odds are, but they've got to be the Vegas favorite. All of us have mentioned them already in the show, but let's talk Toledo. They've got to be the favorite. They always are, right? In this conference, in every conference, there's, I was joking about some of the Power Fours. There's those 2 or 3 teams that are going to win it every year. Well, look, it's like that, right? And Toledo's always one of them. And then there's the rotation of all the others. But Toledo always finds itself in the mix. They're always going to have one of, if not the most talented rosters in the country. Jason Candle, his name is, sometimes it's in rumors to go to the Big Ten. Sometimes it's in rumors to fire the guy. So I don't think the second is a very smart option. But, Jeff, you've liked Tucker Gleason for a while, even when he had to come in for Finn a couple years ago. Yeah, I remember you came on here. You said, he's bebopping around. He's got the tattoos. We've had a chance to see him live a couple times. And, they often have a roster where they're loaded at skill positions, where they're good on defense, where they got a quarterback, but they often don't quite live up to it every time. But I want to get with you, Jeff, on Tucker Gleason first. I know you've liked him for a little while.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that. And he plays exactly that way. And it's like not always pretty. It's not always conventional, but kind of like Parker Navarro. Like the dude is he just wins ball games. He finds ways to win. He's gritty. He's physical. He's just got that swag about him. I mean, and then, he's played better. He's gotten better each and every year. 2,800 yards a year ago, 24 touchdowns, 8 picks. That's what you want to see. And then another 7 rushing touchdowns on the ground. So I just think with him coming back, you add Chip Trainum, who Alex talked about, who I think is going to be very good. And then, you just have a lot of pieces at wideout coming back. Junior Vander Ross is back. Terrell Crosby transfers from Iowa State. You get Eric Hawley, who's back from a year ago as well. But here's the big one, I think, and I almost had him as my impactful transfer. NIU's best receivers come over to Toledo and Trayvon Rudolph. I mean, this guy's an absolute playmaker. You just get him the ball in space, whether it's a jet sweep, crossing route over the middle. You can run him up the seams. Like, he is an absolute playmaker, and they will find a way to use him. You got a quarterback. You got skill positions. Your O-line is going to be very good. 5 starters returning on defense. I mean, I just don't see a lot of holes on this team. So
well, you mentioned Trayvon Rudolph. Like, here's a guy I remember talking about as like NIU is high on this guy. Like before he was a 3-time All-MAC guy. And he's had some injury trouble. A lot of injury trouble, but for him to transfer within the conference over to Toledo, where he's probably got some better weapons around him in that room. He's probably this year in particular going to have a better quarterback. NIU typically has a pretty good offensive line, but Toledo's going to have a better one this year. You're right, though. They lose a bunch on the D-line and a bunch at linebacker. They lose. And as you said earlier, the secondary is always good at Toledo. Per usual, they're going to be good in the secondary. I still think their defense will be good. It's not elite, I don't think. And we're going to talk about Buffalo here in a little bit. I think I probably give Buffalo the edge defensively. But as you said, Jeff, the quarterback and the skill positions, I mean, they are loaded, absolutely loaded. And I'll go to Alex if you've got anything else on Toledo, but I've definitely got them as the favorite.
You realize when you talk to a Toledo grad, there's an inherent bias towards their alma mater. There's also, in the appearance of not being biased, there's an inherent anti-bias towards your alma mater. So I'm going to try to keep this as neutral as I possibly can. I think Toledo probably has the best roster in the MAC that we've seen in quite a while. And that's going back to the 2023 Toledo team that was really, really good. That was really a MAC championship win away from probably being the Group of 5 New Year's 6 rep. With respect to Liberty, I think a one-loss Toledo probably gets that nod, or at least a little bit more discussion. That being said, Toledo, for whatever reason, seems to find a way to lose a game they have no reason losing. And this has gone back to Matt Campbell. This has gone back to, it's been a forever thing. This is a Toledo thing. I think Toledo has one of the best rosters we've seen in a while. But when I look at the schedule, the Washington State game, and we'll get into this a little bit more, the Washington State game kind of sandwiched in the middle of the MAC schedule makes me really nervous for Toledo. If this was at the beginning of the season, I think we're having a much different conversation. You sandwich this one right between Kent State, who you're definitely looking over, and then NIU, who you're trying to pack the Glass Bowl on a Tuesday night for as a farewell game for Northern Illinois. This is a much different conversation, and it turns into a wonky stretch because you get Washington State, you have to travel out west, you get NIU at home, and then you travel down to Miami, Ohio for what I think is one of the biggest storylines in the conference. You're taking on your former quarterback who's with a new team. That is a really tricky stretch in there. If Washington State was week 1 through 4, much different conversation. I don't like that game for them. That feels like a trap game. Even if it's not Washington State, you lose or beat or whatever, that feels like a trap area, and Toledo will probably drop one of those games.
When I saw that, I couldn't agree more with you. I hate the Washington State late. You know what else I think it could be potentially overlooked? You open up on the road at Kentucky, who you want to be up for, you want to play hard. Let me tell you, Western Kentucky coming to town week 2. Yeah. If that defense, who's got a lot of new pieces, isn't ready, Western's going to be able to throw the ball all over the yard. So you could potentially get into a shootout in week 2. It's like, for playoff purposes, you really need that game. You need that win, especially if you drop the Kentucky game. So, but yeah, I hate the Washington State. I'm just not a fan.
Right. No, I'm with you. And to your point about Western Kentucky, Toledo's got that game. They want to get up for Kentucky. That's a tough SEC game on the road, a winnable SEC game on the road, 100%. But a tough one nonetheless. And then you come back home for Western Kentucky, a team who you lost to after a 1,000,000-hour rain delay, with some questionable things going on late. I'm not going to get into it. Western Kentucky won that game. And I don't know if I'd say fair and square, but they won that game. You're excited for both of those games, and then you get Morgan State before you get then you travel up to Kalamazoo. Like, Toledo's schedule is really wonky this year. Like this is a winnable schedule. This is a very favorable schedule, but just the way it's laid out is incredibly wonky, and that's why I'm high on Toledo, but I'm tempering my own expectations because it's just laid out so weird.
Well, and here's one other thing I'll add on the schedule. While it is weird, it's also a schedule that if they get through all that, like if you can, of course, if you can beat Kentucky or even keep Kentucky close, but then you get like Western Kentucky, Washington State, like those are games like Western Kentucky is going to be probably a 9 or 10 win team in Conference USA. They may win Conference USA or get to the championship game. So they're all games that are pretty good resume builders. And then you don't play Buffalo in the regular season, so you do avoid that, but you really got a chance if you don't drop the inevitable trap game. You got a chance to have a pretty nice resume going into a MAC championship game, and then again, depending on what happens elsewhere, you might have a chance.
Well, you avoid Buffalo. You also avoid Ohio, who came to the Glass Bowl and whipped you a year ago. So that's two big conference games that you avoid. Again, very favorable schedule for Toledo, but as you aptly pointed out, this is a resume building schedule for the Rockets.
The other team that has a resume building schedule, and I'm going to talk about them because I have them as the other favorite in this conference, and I also spent a couple hours with them on Saturday. That is the Buffalo Bulls. Well, first let me tell you guys kind of about the trip. What's that?
Nice hat, by the way.
You like that? I will tell you this. I'm gonna say something. This is completely unbiased. I don't care if they're listening to this or not. Number one, and this is also aside from the fact that I played for two schools that also have the blue and black and silver, and like a big blue guy, in case you can't tell. But their logo is just so crisp and clean, and the black and blue just looks so good. Yeah. Against the flat black, against the chrome blue, against the, whatever color, like whatever flat chrome, the standard colors, it all looks really good. The Bull looks phenomenal in their weight room, in their meeting rooms. I mean, it is a pretty damn slick logo and color combination. But let me tell you guys about my time there. And it got cut short because, boy, I had this great plan, guys. I was going to get up there. My flight was going to land at 11 a.m. I was going to get the rental car. Then my brother and my dad were going to get there about 11:30. They were going to hop in the rental car. They were going to drop me off the University of Buffalo. Just drop me off with my hands and let me be. And then they were going to go do Niagara Falls and some tourist stuff. Okay. And I was going to spend a few hours. I was going to spend some time with the coaches, spend some time. They didn't have practice. They had meetings and stuff like that. And then I was going to go over to Elmo's or Duff's and have a few until my ride got back. Well, Delta had other plans. Okay.
Oh, no.
So my flight got canceled, altogether canceled, not delayed, not rerouted, just completely just like, we're going to go ahead and cancel this flight. So then I could not get another flight until 7:45 p.m. Friday night. And I didn't get there. I got there. I landed in Buffalo at like 12:30 a.m. I think it was. So this would now be Friday night, Saturday morning. Ubered to my Airbnb, which was about an hour south of Buffalo. Little town, by the way. If you ever get up to Buffalo, and I've been to this place before. This is where my mom's side of the family is from, up this way, northwest Pennsylvania. There's a town in this very southern part of New York called Ellicottville. It's a ski village.
Okay.
Fantastic time. They got the bar scene. They got the little downtown strip. They got a ski resort with a couple golf courses. If you ever get some time, or if you ever want to go to a Buffalo game and you got a few days, down to Ellicottville, check that out. But anyway, that's where we stayed. So I get there. My Uber gets me there. Big conspiracy theorist Uber guy. That's for Group of Five Guys After Dark. Big QAnon guy. If you will. So in case you guys weren't aware, I don't know if you guys knew this, the world is being run currently by military installations that are 20,000 feet under the earth. They got tunnels that go New York to California in 30 minutes. It's happening right now, according to my Uber driver.
I felt a rumble under the ground earlier, so that makes sense. Yeah.
So anyway, he gets me to my Airbnb about 1:45, almost 2 a.m. So I get in there. Well, that body clock of Matt Sprouse wakes you up at 5 no matter what. So I get up at 5, hop in the rental car, drive back to Buffalo, spend some time. They got team meetings at 7. And so, I spent some time. I got to give a couple shout outs. Brooke gave me a little bit of the tour. Then Damaris gave me the full tour. Shout out to both of them because I would have thought they were like veterans on the staff, and they've only been there for like a week or 2 each. Like, I'm like, so let's do they're like, well, what do you want to see? Weight room, locker room, meeting rooms, all that stuff. Like, well, I think the weight room's over here. So, but shout out to them. And that shout out to Coach Bowen. He kind of the defensive coordinator kind of put it all together, got me connected. But anyway, man, I spent about 15, 20 minutes with Coach Lembo in his office. And, Jeff, he reminded me so much of Coach Stock, just in like his demeanor. Like I'm trying to pull it out of him. I'm hyping him up, right? I'm like, he's like, yeah, fortunately we brought back a good, we didn't lose too much. And I'm like, oh yeah, you guys brought back a lot. And I'm hyping him up. And he's like, I've been doing this so long. Like, you don't get too high, you don't get too low, never know. And I'm just like, brother, y'all are going to be good. Okay. and he just won't, take the bait, we like our team, we like our guys, but it's interesting talking to him and we've talked about this too, Jeff, a lot. Like, he's talking about who they recruit against and stuff. And he's like, we recruit, the kid that's going to go to Temple isn't going to be a Buffalo guy. Like, the kid that wants to be in the city in Philadelphia, it's not going to be a Buffalo guy, and vice versa. There's nothing right or wrong with it. It's something we've talked about this a lot when we compare Charlotte and App State or Georgia State and Georgia Southern. Like, some guys want to be in Atlanta or Philly, or Charlotte. Other guys want to be in Boone or Statesboro. Now, Buffalo's not, Buffalo's got a lot going on, but when you get around campus and you're in that, Western New York, Western Pennsylvania, it's a different kind of kid. It's more Midwest type, it's not a Northeastern guy. So he's talking about them like recruiting against teams more so like a James Madison, than other teams necessarily in the conference that he's talking about. And it was interesting talking about with him, finding that culture fit before anything else, because you're not going to win. You're not going to win guys with NIL. They've got great facilities, but nowadays, I don't know that kids care about that much anymore. So you're not going to like wow them, but it's got to be the culture guy, the proud Western New York, Western Pennsylvania kid. Like you think of the old school, like West Virginia kids, like the coal mining type families, right? Blue collar, hard hat type of place. Then you get around the building and they got that. And I'll tell you, man, I didn't get to spend as much time as I wanted to, but a few players don't know who they were, but just don't think they had any idea who I was. Just like, hey, sir, how you doing? I'm like, sir, first of all, I'm like, settle down, pal.
You're moving up there in years, my friend.
Yeah. But just like very polite and nice kids. And that's one of the things he talked about. He's like, they've got a great building. Everybody on the staff is great people all around. And anybody can say that, right? But spending some time, you kind of get that feeling. I really, really wanted to watch practice. I just had to go for the obligations that I had going on there. But facility wise, I mean, outside of Murfreesboro, Tennessee, Jeff, might be the best weight room that we've seen. I mean, incredible weight room. It reminded me a lot of Troy's, but way bigger, way more space. They had the ramp, the hill that they got them running sprints on, all the Sorinex equipment. I think they probably had a few more platforms and racks than Troy did. But then the best part about it, big bay door opens up from the weight room straight into the indoor, full 100 yards, full high ceiling. I mean, they got it all. Their meeting rooms, big time. The theater seating, they got the full training room, cold tubs, hot tubs, all the underwater treadmills and all that stuff. I actually spent more time in the training room than I think we probably ever have, and it was interesting. We got to get some of those athletic trainer types on the show, because we were talking about what's changed, with trainers, back in our day, right? Coaches hated the trainers because any chance a trainer got, they're taking them out of practice or whatever. And you're saying, now recovery and things like silly things like sleep. And, you used to put ice on everything. That was like the method. And it's like, all that has changed. Mm-hmm. You didn't hear anything about sleep when we were playing, really. I mean, I feel like I remember being, getting heard like, hey, getting in the cold tub is way more important than your sleep. Get here at 5 a.m. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it's different now. And he was just talking about the education piece for the players from the training staff. And, they're fortunate. They've got some of the team doctors, same as the Bills and stuff. So they've got a lot of that going on. The whole building is renovated and or new within the last couple of years. They kind of worded it to me like it's mostly football only, like it's football building, but sometimes like another team will be like, hey, can we get the weight room?
Yeah,
we let our guys work out in there, and they make it work. The other thing too, I may be wrong on what I'm about to say, Alex. Maybe this. Not Buffalo's the only team in the MAC with a full-time dietitian on the football only dietitian on staff. Something dietitian, nutritionist, whatever. They got
Central
it.
Michigan might also be there.
Maybe
They
they
were talking
probably
about
do
it a
with Matt
couple years
Drinkle,
ago.
because Matt Drinkle's all about health and wellness, so he probably
Yes.
brought one.
Did you
But
scan
either way,
that with
so
the Yuka app, that's what he's probably saying.
yeah. He's got the health staff using that. But anyway, they've got a really cool nutrition room. I mean, it's like a bar. It looks like a bar. I mean, there's the lights going. There's bar stools they got all the outlets and the plugs, and they've got the nutritionists in there. Custom meal plans for every single player on the team. Weight loss plans, weight gain, muscle gain, fat loss, all that stuff plans. They're getting custom smoothies, custom shakes, custom breakfast, all that stuff. And I've not seen a dining area as nice as that one was as far as nutrition goes from that standpoint. They got to get rid of that track and they'd have a pretty good operation. But no, man, just thankful to everybody up there that it was. I mean, they all helped me out. I kept saying, look, I can't. Plans are ruined here. Like, how are we going to make this work? We got to make this work. I'm up here. Like, I'm not going to, it's hard to get up here. And then they were all super flexible with me, super helpful, giving me that tour and showing me around. And then, of course, gave me a hat on the way out.
There you go.
But all that being said, I love this Buffalo team. And Jeff, and you know it, and I know it. I've been on Buffalo long before I even knew I was going to make this trip. I've been talking about this Buffalo team, especially the offensive line. And then our buddy Rico Knows, posted about the offensive line, and it sort of confirmed what I thought. And I went up there and spent some time with the staff and spent some time around the building, and it just added fuel to my Buffalo fire. But the quarterback's the question mark.
It is.
Yep.
That's the big question mark. And I talked about Toledo, right? And I look at these two teams and I think, okay, QB and receiver, you probably go in Toledo. Running back room, maybe a wash, maybe a slight edge to Buffalo. I think O-line, slight edge to Buffalo. Defensive front, edge Buffalo. Defensive backfield, edge Toledo probably. But the quarterback, and I'm not saying he's going to be bad, but it's the biggest up in the air, and it's the biggest sure thing at Toledo, and it's the biggest question mark at Buffalo. But again, look, I've been talking about this O-line. They bring back 3 offensive line starters. They bring in another FCS guy that was all conference. Al-J Henderson, Alex talked about him a few minutes ago, had over 1,000 yards last year. I do like the receiver room's not the deepest. They got Victor Snow. He's one of those little guys, one of those little quick, one of those guys that are a huge pain in the ass for defenses. Even more so a pain than like the big go up and get it guy. These little guys are like such a pain to cover. You just do a lot with them. They're versatile. I talked about Red Murdoch. I talked about the linebackers. You lose Sean Dolak, but the linebacker room is still the best in the conference. It's not going to drop off a ton. And then you have Kobe Stewart, a defensive end, who had 9.5 sacks last year. And Jeff, you know the deal. He's number 0, pal. You know that means he's good. And similar to, like I said about Toledo, I'm giving you guys everything I got on Buffalo. Then I'll let you have it.
Unload the clip.
Similar to Toledo. Resume building schedule. Okay. They avoid Toledo. They get Minnesota on a Thursday night to open the season. I mean, you can beat Minnesota, Minnesota's probably not going to blow you out, even if they do beat you. And what they're definitely not going to do is just physically beat you down for the rest of your season. And then you get Troy at home. Troy, I think, will be a little bit better than last year, but I still think they're a year or two away. And they're going to have to travel up to Buffalo. That's going to be tough for Troy. And you got St. Francis in the non-conference. You're winning that game. So then you just got to navigate through this conference. And I haven't looked at it as in depth as probably you guys have on, who's coming off a bye and who plays who on Tuesday and Wednesday, or what's homecoming or what's this. But the QB is the big question mark, man. And I think he can be good, but we don't know.
And I'll be quick because you pretty much hit it all. All Taquan Robinson, if he's the guy, which I think he'll end up probably getting the nod to start the year. I hate using this term. You don't need to just like manage
it, buddy.
But like you have 1,000-yard back. You have a great receiver in Victor Snow. You have McMillan and Clax that are also returning that are good receivers. Just don't turn the ball over. Play point guard, hand it off, hit your routes. I mean, when I looked at the film that he didn't play at Kansas State, comes from UConn by way of Penn State, so the guy's been around. Had a good year at UConn in 2023, 2,000 yards, 12 touchdowns, 6 picks, 2 rushing touchdowns. The guy's athletic. He can run around. Just don't turn it over. If he can do that, I think this offense can be really good. And you got a great defense, on the back end to help you out. And then you avoid Toledo and NIU. So, yeah, for all the points you made, just quarterback, the most important position on the field, in my opinion, not biased, is a big question mark.
It's so interesting because for me, that is the biggest question mark. Gunnar Gray is in that contention for that starting spot. I think Taquan Robertson is gonna win that job, but I don't think you can discount Gunnar Gray. That's a guy who has been a consummate professional, who has just been, I'm here, I'm gonna work, and I'm gonna push to make this team better. He's a team guy. You talk on the offensive line. The offensive line is going to be one of the best in the MAC. On the starting side, you run into trouble if a starter or two gets hurt. I don't like the depth for this offensive line. I know you got a couple guys from Virginia Tech, Michigan State coming in to kind of help fill in some of that depth. The depth worries me. There's not a lot of experience past the front five, and that's where I'm a little bit hesitant. That this is a great offensive line until you get to the second string. That's when I get a little bit worried. My other concern is, you talk about Red Murdoch. He's going to have to step up and be really, really big for this team. He had a bunch of tackles last year, but that was really easy for him when he had Sean Dolock doing tackling on the other side of the field.
Yeah.
Now he's going to be the guy. He's got some great, Deion Crawford is going to be great. Savion Brown coming over from Western Michigan. There's some talent around him. Can he be the Sean Dolock of this defense? That remains to be seen now that he doesn't have Sean Dolock.
One of the other things I want to get to too that I talked about with Coach Lembo for a little bit was, and
Great
we've
guy,
mentioned,
by the way,
just an unbelievable guy. He gave me a great compliment. He said he talked about the depth of his offensive line, and he said, "Hey, you might have some years left. You come be a depth piece for us." And I was like, "I got bad news, buddy. I wasn't any good." But no, yeah. It's unbelievable. These coaches are such great people, man. Like, for people that I've never met the guy, you know what I mean? And just into the office, sit on the couch and just talking ball, like we're old buddies. You know what I mean? But one of the things we talked about that we've talked on this show before is getting these Bills fans behind the University of Buffalo. It's a freaking big university. That's one thing that surprised me. It's a big campus, man. Big, nice campus. Like, this is not like some small little college like in the middle of nowhere, right? This is a big operation they got going here. And he talked about just the grassroots, right? Like, one kid at a time. Jeff, we talk about this with middle. It's like it's one family at a time, being out in the community. He does a heck of a job of that. I mean, he's going on podcasts left and right. We got to get him on our show, by the way. He's going out to Elmo's and Duff's and shaking hands and kissing babies and all those things. And look, like anywhere, you combine that and you go win a couple of games. It don't matter if you got a track or not. You fill the place up, it's going to be a great environment. And that's something that I hope that the Bills fans, there was a Bills Twitter account that said something on our tweet about Buffalo, that they got a bad president and it sucks or whatever. We know all about that, don't we, Jeff?
Yes, we do.
But you still got to support the players. And that account, I get to thinking about it, that account's got like 30,000 followers. So, dude, if you got half of your followers to go to the stadium on a Tuesday night, you'd have a damn good crowd. And you'd help this team. I mean, you put a 12-win team at the University of Buffalo. I bet you they pack that stadium. I bet you they figure it out. I bet you Bills fans will think, hey, look, maybe the Bills are on the road, so let's go to the University on Saturday night and jump through tables instead of wait until Sunday to do it. Or maybe they play on a Tuesday night. I got plenty of time to recover before the Bills play on a Sunday. Or the Bills play Sunday and then Bulls on a Tuesday. I just keep the party going Sunday night into Tuesday night. The Bills fans are these maniacs. I mean, and they're proud of it. Why not get an extra day in the week where you can get after it the same way that they do there? But anyway, I had them as, I had Toledo and Buffalo as my favorites. Did you guys have Buffalo in the favorite category, or did you have them down at contender?
I had them as a favorite as well. And for one of the large reasons was they got Kent State, Akron, Eastern Michigan, UMass. All were sub 500 teams a year ago. Favorable schedule, even with the question mark quarterback. So, yes.
I'm with you guys. Like they were in my favorites category. For all the reasons you just mentioned, Jeff, that schedule is unbelievably easy until the last two, like the conference schedule, until the last 2 weeks of the season. You get Miami and you get Ohio, but you get them both at home.
In November, late November.
Yeah.
And Buffalo.
Brutal.
Like, I know all the places in the MAC are cold and miserable. Listen, they canceled an NFL game in Buffalo. You remember that?
Yeah.
That's how bad the weather gets in that place. It was 40 degrees there, by the way. When I woke up, when I got out of the plane at 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm skiing out there in shorts and a T-shirt waiting on an Uber. It's 40 degrees. I'm thinking, what in the hell? On August the 2nd, in the year of our Lord, 2025, 40 degrees in Buffalo, New York? Come on, man. Help me out. Anyway, did you guys have anybody else in the favorite category?
I did not.
That's those are my two favorites. I did have kind of a third favorite that was kind of teetering on favorite and contender. And I did have Miami and Ohio. But really, those four were my kind of contender favorites. Toledo, Buffalo with the edge on favorites. So.
Well, let's talk Miami, because I got them as a contender.
Me too.
In there with Ohio and some of the other ones we haven't gotten to yet. For the last 3 years, this team's been really good on defense, and they've been super reliant on the health of Gabbert to be good offensively. They've got to replace everything, literally everything, on offense this year. However, you get a nice piece at quarterback coming in. We talked about DeQuan Finn a little bit. Something that worries me about Miami is only 3 combined starts in the entire offensive line room. 3 starts. So 3 guys started 1 game apiece. Now they've got a bunch of guys that have played. So it's not like you got, a bunch of freshmen or a bunch of guys that have been, sitting the bench. But just not a ton of experience, especially starting experience on the O-line. Defensively, right, you got to figure out how you're going to replace Matt Salopek, Ty Wise. But I think they're still Miami to a degree. It's one of those programs that just kind of like with Toledo in the secondary. To me, Miami is that at like the front side of the defense. Corbin, am I saying this name right? Hondrew, the linebacker, 70 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, and 3 interceptions last year at linebacker. So he's a guy that's been all over the field. Like you talked about with Red Murdoch, though, he's going to have to be a guy that steps up in a leadership role and steps up as the guy, not just like, okay, here's the third guy that's going to come over and clean up some of the stuff that the other guys missed.
Yeah.
So I'm a little worried about the offensive line. I love DeQuan Finn. I mean, that's huge. That keeps them. He keeps them in this contender category for me, because otherwise I might have had them down a notch.
Well, if I can kind of speak to that just a little bit, I love DeQuan Finn. it breaks my heart that as a Toledo fan, I have to cheer against him at some point this year because I loved what he did for Toledo. But DeQuan Finn had issues with health. You've got Henry Hessen as the backup quarterback. You've got Thomas Gutskowski. Wonder if he's any relation to Steve Gutskowski, but we'll I'm curious now.
There's so many good Midwest names in this conference,
Right.
by the way. Wait till we get to some of these other teams because I took note. It's like, wow, what a name for a.
There are some great names.
Yeah.
Jordan Brunson, I think he can lead this running back room. Kenny Tracy has been in this program for a while, but I worry, you get Deion Colsey coming over from Notre Dame. That's huge, but you lost you lost 3 of your top pass catchers from a year ago. So you had to go get a guy from Notre Dame, a guy from Colorado, a guy from Washington. In fact, their top 5 guys, based off the depth chart I've kind of been putting together, 5 of their top 7 all transfers. Like this is a wide receiver room that's going to have to figure out how to click quickly. Not to mention if Chuck Martin, who we all know is we do this by the book. We keep it, we don't vary too much, at least from my experience. If he doesn't let DeQuan Finn be DeQuan Finn, this team's in trouble. DeQuan Finn is really good at improv. I would have assumed he could be on the stage in Broadway. He's so good at improv, but he's just one of those guys who can really see things kind of develop and just take it and do whatever he's got to do. I'm worried that if he gets corralled a little bit, because you saw this a little bit at Toledo with Jason Candle, he tried to put him on a leash a little bit. You do that, you're in trouble. That's why Toledo lost the MAC championship 2 years ago. They completely threw out their game plan of let DeQuan Finn be DeQuan Finn, let Penny Boone be Penny Boone. They tried to play something completely different, and it burned them. You do that with DeQuan Finn, you're going to get burned. And that's my worry here. But a lot of these positions, there's not a lot of depth. Miami has some great pieces off the top, but depth-wise, there are a lot of question marks. So if there's any injuries, this team nosedives very quickly.
I agree with that point. I mean, Finn's health is critical, but I mean that you could say that about most starting quarterbacks.
Sure,
right? You lose your starter who's a 2,000-yard passer, has a ton of rushing yards. Like that's the dice you roll, and I think Finn makes this team a contender.
Yeah,
you talked about all the transfer wideouts. They seem like they went really, really big on the outside and then small and quick on the inside. So, in my opinion, like their offensive line has holes.
Mm-hmm.
Running back, a lot of question marks. Receivers, a lot of question marks. Finn has got to make this offense go. If he doesn't, I don't see Miami having a very good year at all. But I think he can. I think having an athletic quarterback who can make plays with his feet, and I don't think it's never really by design, but having issues on the offensive line is going to force him into making plays with his feet. So I think he, is a dynamic player. I think the MAC is where he should have stayed all along. And if he's able to run the ball effectively, they used quarterback run a little bit when Gabbert got hurt 2 years ago, and they kind of implemented it in his offense. Now, Finn's not quite that type of guy, but I think if you can implement that style of offense, have some runs, he's got to understand to protect himself. You're going to get single coverage on the outside because you gain an extra blocker with the running back. If you do that, that's where those 6'4", Colsey and Williamson from Florida State, like that's where those guys can eat with go balls and big balls up top. So I think fair or unfair, this season kind of resides on Finn. And if he's not able for whatever reason, because maybe Martin doesn't want to adapt to the style he plays, I think they're going to be in trouble. But I think he gets the job done. He's a great player, and I think they have a good season. It's why I had him as a contender.
The defense is going to carry them early. That's going to be the key to, and that's the Chuck Martin way. Chuck Martin is known for just being an unbelievable defensive coach. I have admired his defenses for years. This is going to be one of the best defenses in the country. We saw it in some of the games where they struggled. They held Notre Dame to a low total. They're really good at defense, and that's going to continue this year. the question is, can the defense, knowing what the schedule is, you get Wisconsin on the road, Rutgers on the road, and then you get UNLV at home. So things start to lighten up a little bit, but you have a tough stretch late in the season. You get Ohio and Toledo and Buffalo in back-to-back week.
It's
Like, it's
brutal.
just, that is an insane stretch. 2 of those games are on the road.
Yeah.
Like, this is a tough back end schedule as well as a front end schedule. And if the offense can't gel or get going, they're in trouble. But I do have them as a contender because I'm with you. DeQuan Finn is so good. This team is automatically a contender because he is under center.
Yep. I had another one that I had as a contender that this is a very like emotional, like a impulsive decision to put them here, because they lose quite a bit too. That's Bowling Green.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh.
Nah, but hold on.
Toledo bias coming out, huh?
I like
What? No, what are you talking about?
Yeah, because I watched them bludgeon Toledo live and in person last year in Toledo.
I picked that game, and I hate that I picked it.
But I got to talk. So we talked about Eddie George a little bit. You know, whatever. That'll help in the portal. That'll help with some stuff. That's more of the long-term thing, in my opinion, with Eddie George. But I just really wanted to use this opportunity to talk about their offensive line, specifically their center, Alex Padgett. There's one play. I wish we could find the video, Jeff. I asked you about it and you didn't respond. So
sorry.
There's a
Buried
play
deep
with
in my phone.
they get Harold Fannin out on a screen. This is at Toledo. I think it was Fannin out on a screen. And Padgett, playing center now, is out there on this screen running stride for stride with Harold Fannin. And then he proceeds to give 2 defenders a ride about 15 yards onto the sideline, and then he dumps them. And I'm like, as that happens, I'm like, me and Jeff are standing there in the end zone. We're like, oh my God. You know, Jeff's probably watching Fannin and the QB, and I'm like, oh my God, did you see the center? You know what I mean?
Got him out the club.
All that, by the way, at 6'6", 330. So about as athletic. I'm surprised he doesn't play tackle because he's got the size of a tackle. But he's so athletic to be able to. Do you know how hard it is at center to pull out to get out on a screen or pull on a counter or whatever? Like, that's outrageous, especially at as big as he is. So I just wanted to give him a shout. Now here's my negative. I say all that to then say, boy, they got a brutal schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, they go at Cincinnati versus Liberty, at Louisville, and then at Ohio to open up conference play. Now, if you remember Bowling Green last year they had the running back, they had Fannin, they had some different pieces, especially at the skill positions. But they went up to Penn State and played Penn State within a score. Then they went down to Texas A&M the next week and played A&M within a score. Then they played a good Old Dominion team and lost tight to them. Then they went on to win 5 of their last 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
So Bowling Green, it's kind of a similar type schedule. Like, yeah, they might, Cincinnati's not anybody special. Liberty, we'll see. That'll be a tough game. Louisville, but like those are not Penn State and Texas A&M, but they'll be tough games. And so we'll see what they look like after the first 4 games, and then we'll see. Now they bring in Drew Pine at quarterback, a very interesting transfer. He's got 10 career starts at Notre Dame. Now it must have been 2-3 years ago when he was supposed to be the guy at Notre Dame, and it just didn't really work out for him. So interested to see, how he can do at a place like Bowling Green. I think he's got the offensive line, so he'll have some protection. He'll have a decent run game with that offensive line. And you got to imagine Eddie George is going to want to be a physical run the ball kind of team. I mean, that's how he was. So I think Drew Pine's going to have some time, like you talked about with Miami, the defense carrying him a little bit. I think with Bowling Green, run the ball early. You're going to try to keep time of possession with that big line. And maybe Drew Pine's as talented as he was supposed to be. And you might have another pretty good quarterback in this conference that is able to win some games.
So I kind of want to just touch on the Drew Pine thing real quick. He, a 4-star recruit, doing the Notre Dame thing. There's a reason he didn't work out at Notre Dame. There's a reason he didn't work out at Arizona. There's a reason he didn't work out at Mizzou. And that's because from what I can kind of gather, he wasn't that guy. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Some great quarterbacks can be developed in different leagues. Sometimes you just got to find the right place. And I think Drew Pine, this is a great landing spot for him. You get to work with a great coach, and who knows what potential NFL talent looks like. He was handed the ball a few times by some NFL quarterbacks. The offensive line is going to be arguably the biggest strength on this Bowling Green team. But I don't really know who he's throwing to. He's got transfers. Kadarius Roberts coming in from TSU. He's got Austin Denty coming over from Mizzou, so that's a face he knows. Markel Porter, a freshman. Christian McMillan, I think that's the guy you got to say, hey, this is a guy who's been in the program. These are all running backs. But then you've got RJ Garcia. You got Finn Hogan. Everybody remembers his catch against Georgia Tech. We've got Alan Middleton. This is a team that there are a lot of question marks outside of quarterback. You don't have a question mark at quarterback. You don't have a question mark at offensive line. You have a question mark on who the quarterback's getting the ball to. And I think that's where Bowling Green's going to struggle.
That's essentially the analysis I had. Anytime you have a great offensive line, like that covers up, like it's a big worry for most teams that this team is not going to have. But it's who is Drew going to get the ball to? The defense worries me quite a bit. Not returning a lot of continuity there. And then you add on top the new coach, new staff, new scheme. Like there's a lot of things to work out. I did not have them as a contender. I had them in the everybody else category. And mainly because of not knowing the skill guys on the outside. What are they going to do? It's hard to assess those guys. And then the defense, and then the schedule. Schedule to me is just absolutely brutal.
I have them as a dark horse. I've got them as one of my two dark horses because I think they could make some noise, but I don't have them as a true contender or a favorite. So,
do you guys have anybody else in the contender category?
I did.
Who you got?
Hold on, let me go to it. No, not contender. Sorry, I was looking at my dark horses.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get onto the dark horses. I've got one, and I hesitate to call them a dark horse because I feel like they're always very close to being a contender or a favorite. Mm-hmm. They might be that again this year. That's Northern Illinois to me. They just I think they're going to be really good. I do. I really do. Like I'm looking at them, I'm like, okay, I think they'll be really good on defense. They're always pretty good up front on the offensive line. They always can run the ball. That's what I'm looking at, right? If you can run the ball and play good defense, like you're in every game. You got a chance every time. But even when NIU won the conference, they won a ton of just close games. I remember sitting up here talking about it. And then the next year they lost all those close games. So, but when you do have an offensive line and a strong defense, like all your games are going to be close more than likely. They got a new quarterback. Thomas Hammock seems to like the team. He's always tweeting about how well they evaluate. I like him. I like him so much, dude. Yeah. Just such an old school coach, man. Sticking to the high school. They don't freaking lean all on the portal. They get a few pieces, but they're all about, the high school guys and developing the guys. I like Roy Williams, defensive end, 6.5 sacks last year, 6'6". Good. And I want to say, what is he, 260, something like that? Am I making that up?
He's a big boy. Yeah.
Prototype NFL defensive end. Reminds me of like Jason Pierre-Paul in just his stature. I talked about the offensive line. They're going to move Evan Malcor over to the left tackle. Mm-hmm. Josh Holst appears to be the guy at quarterback. Now he's got some running ability. He can run it a little bit, on a read option and things like that. So that gives him a chance to, gives him another dynamic. But I don't know, man. I just, you know what I mean? I got him as a dark horse because they might mess around and be an 8-9 win team. But I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I had him in the dark horse category mainly because of, the way they play. Thomas Hammock's a great coach. He's a veteran coach. He's been around for a while, you know. And then you look at their schedule. It's tough in the non-conference, but it's not crazy. Like you get Holy Cross, a nice game, good program. At Maryland, at Mississippi State, those are both like games like they could win potentially.
Both a lot easier than at Notre Dame.
No, yeah,
that they did win.
No question. Then you get San Diego State at home. Avoid Buffalo. You avoid Bowling Green. You avoid Central Michigan, who I think is going to be a decent team this year. Miami at home. Western Michigan at home. Your toughest games are Ohio and Toledo on the road. You just never know with this team. Like you said, the way they play, it's going to keep them in games. Josh Holst, not a lot of film on him. Most of the stuff I was able to find was high school stuff. I mean, not super fast, but a long strider because he's 6'4", 205. Like he can get out there and run. Strong arm, good feet in the pocket. Can definitely spin it. Just he's the big question mark for me. I know they're going to be able to run the ball.
Yeah, let me ask you guys this before you make a few points, Alex. With them leaving, do you think? I don't know that it affects the players much. Like, do you think they've put a target on their back because they're leaving the conference, or do you think the players even really notice and or care? Because here's the deal: the players are all moving everywhere all the time anyway. They probably don't even realize that they're going to the Mountain West. I don't know. The fans will, though.
So I think the players, it's business as usual. Certainly the players want to do what every player wants to do, and that's win a championship. If you listen to the online chatter, which can get dangerous, the fans are, per a couple different people, per some posts that I've seen, the fans are very, very pompous about their exit and cannot leave fast enough. So if anybody's put a target on their back, the fans have put a target on their back. The fans have been the ones to say Northern Illinois is the villain. And I think the fans are fine with that. But the players, they're very much, hey, we're trying to win football games. We're not focused on this other noise. And any good team shouldn't be. You know, Thomas Hammock has done a great job keeping these guys focus on the now. Let's focus on the schedule. But if you listen to the fans, they have made it very clear how much they do not like the Mid-American Conference, do not like the midweek games. And they're the ones who have painted this giant target on the backs of these Huskies, and they're going to get everybody's best shot. I'm not going to encourage this, but I would expect Northern Illinois fans to not expect the most friendly welcomes when they're the road teams this year.
Yeah.
So are you suggesting maybe throwing snowballs at fans? Are you suggesting profanity? What are you suggesting?
I am suggesting that fans treat them nice because they're still a worthwhile opponent, but I understand how fandoms work. And I remember when I was a drunk 22-year-old college kid, when Jordan Lynch was scoring touchdowns on Toledo on election night, I remember what I said to Jordan Lynch. And I know what these fans are going to say to Josh Holst and this Northern Illinois team throughout the rest of the conference. You mentioned the schedule. The conference did Northern Illinois pretty dirty, and I think this was maybe a little bit of retaliation, maybe not. You're sending Northern Illinois to Toledo midweek, which honestly, I think that's actually the perfect time to play Toledo. That has been a staple of a midweek game. It's always a classic. But then the following week, you send them up to UMass. You put them on the road in back-to-back midweek games, and you're sending them all the way out to UMass. You don't have UMass come to them. No, you're giving them kind of a little bit of a middle finger and saying, hey, you're leaving. We're going to make you prepare for your Mountain West travel by sending you up to UMass.
That's a good point.
So I have a lot of love for Northern Illinois. Clearly.
So did you guys have them? You had them as the dark horse, or what?
They're one of my dark horses.
Yeah,
yes, I believe that they are going to be good enough to be kind of slip under the radar a little bit. That Mississippi State game is going to be the big turning point early, I think.
What other dark horses, Jeff? I'll go with you because I know you got a couple, or at least one.
Yeah,
What else you got?
I got one more. And I was high on them last year. They just didn't really reach their potential. But Western Michigan, I really like Western Michigan for some reason. They get a Riverside Community College transfer quarterback.
Boy, got some numbers in the JUCO ranks, pal.
Let me tell you, you never know what type of competition is going to show up against you in the California JUCO system. 4,000 yards, 44 touchdowns, 5 more rushing touchdowns. Kid can spin it, that's for sure. 6'4", 195 pounds. He was, what I'll say about him, at least on his JUCO tape, a little inconsistent from game to game, the ones that I saw. But whether it was zone or man, the guy can figure it out. When he was on, he would hit go routes in man or slants. It was right on the money, or zones. He'd find the spots in there. So I like that they're getting a guy that really can spin it, a big guy. You got, Jalen Buckley. I talked about him. He was my offensive player. Great name in Cole Cabana, backing him up. And then they got some talent on the outside too. You get Talik Williams comes over from Georgia State, averaged 10 yards a catch last year. Not a ton of numbers, but a good receiver. Christian Leary comes over from Georgia Tech. So you got some people, that are coming in. And then you get Blake Bosma, third-team All-MAC, tight end coming back. So I like this offense. I like the running back. And then you look at their schedule. They avoid Buffalo. They get Miami and NIU at home. I just think they're going to be very talented on offense. That's going to give them a shot down the line in this conference.
I like it. I was questioning putting them there. It's not always good when a safety leads a team in tackles. They've got that now. That I do like their safety though. Tate Hollick, strong safety, 84 tackles last year. And then they bring in Jaden Lyles from Austin P, who had 96 tackles at Austin P last year at the other safety spot. So hopefully their defensive line and linebackers can absorb some of those numbers for Western Michigan. But yeah, they're interesting. You think they had kind of that three-headed monster at running back, and now they're down to one. Maybe that, I don't know. I like to see Buckley go off this year with some big numbers.
I'm a big fan of Buckley. I've been a big fan of Buckley since he joined Western Michigan, since he's been in the MAC. For me, it's going to be the defensive side of the ball that has the question marks. There's some great guys over there. Nadami Tucker coming over. I think that's a huge transfer portal pickup. Popeye Williams, you're talking about some great names. Like that's another great name there on the defensive line. Who wants to get tackled by a guy named Popeye? Like, come on. You get Tyson Lee back, and I love Tyson Lee. He had 19 tackles, 10 hurries, 1 sack a year ago. This is a good ball player. But again, similar to some of these other programs, I'm worried about depth. Javarius Sims in the backfield coming over from UConn, started at Central Michigan. You got several of your defensive backfield are transfers. These are guys coming in who have to learn a new system. Now, I love Coach Taylor. Great guy. I think he's got a great head on his shoulders. This schedule isn't overly favorable. It feels like hard game, easy game, hard game, easy game, hard game, easy game. So you don't get a chance to get into kind of a win rhythm where you're like, all right, we're playing good football. Now we can really string together some wins. I think Sparty is a game that you could be competitive in. North Texas, that should be a fun game. Then you could travel to Illinois, but then you're back home against Toledo, who might be your toughest conference opponent. Then you get Rhode Island. Then you're at UMass, so you're traveling, and that's tough. Ball State always gives you fits. Miami, Central Michigan, rivalry game. This schedule is so back and forth for them. It's going to be really hard to get into a rhythm. If they can get into a rhythm between Toledo and Miami, that's when I think you watch out for Western Michigan. I like this Brady Jones kid. I think this is going to be a really big quarterback change from Hayden Wolf, and I think that's for the better. I loved Hayden Wolf. I loved watching him play, but I think that this is going to be a good situation for Brady Jones. And if he can't do it, Brock Lowry is fine. I have no issues. Brock Lowry started in Indiana. That's a kid who can sling the rock as well. So I'm very excited to see what this offense does. Walt Bell has his work cut out for him, the offensive coordinator, here in year 2. But I'm really excited to see what they can do. You've got some really quality transfer pieces. Put them together, make this team have some sort of special run.
I like it. Alex, did you have anybody else as a dark horse?
No, sadly, I'm going to be very honest. I have everybody else as pretenders or just bad.
Yeah. So let's talk a few others here. Let's talk some of the other Michigan schools. Let's talk Central Michigan. I know we've had Matt Drinkle on. Love that guy. I mean, I would go play for that guy today. Really more than anything, just want to go sit by the fire and have some beer with. Well, he probably don't drink beer because it's not good on his app that he uses, the Yuka app. But what do you guys think? See, I think he's going to come in and instill. This is going to be one of those schools that it's all about culture and locker room and physicality and toughness, and it won't necessarily matter who they bring in. They just kind of keep going, next man up type of mentality. I just think it might take a minute to get there. Right now, they've got to replace everything on offense. The offensive line is a big question mark. They got a ton of FCS guys coming over that haven't, they're not necessarily like all-American FCS guys or big-time all-conference FCS guys. They got some, they got some starts. They got some experience under their belt. They can get back to Central Michigan ways of having that big physical offensive line where they've got NFL draft picks coming out every year. And I think with Drinkle, obviously coming over from coaching the O-line at West Point, me talk about physical. So I think they're going to bring a little bit of that mentality. I think this year they're going to go 2 tight ends quite a bit. They got some big tight ends, DeCorian Temple, 6'5", 245, and then Nathan Van Timmerman, another name for you, 6'4", 240. So they got these big tight ends. Interested to see how they use them. I do think they're going to be okay on defense. I think they're going to be fine there, especially in the middle. They got a big defensive tackle that I like, Jonathan Decker, 6'5", 300. Middle linebacker, here's your Midwest Central Michigan. This got Central Michigan written all over it. Jordan Kwiatkowski. I think I'm saying it right. I mean, that's just screams Central Michigan linebacker too. And then Caleb Span at safety had 61 tackles last year. So I think the defense is going to be okay. I was really tempted, and I might, as we're doing this, I was really tempted to just give them a shot at this dark horse thing, because I think the defense is going to be okay. And I think they are going to have this attitude that might win a game or two that they have absolutely no business winning. But from a pure talent, skill guy, offensive line standpoint, I just don't see it this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of in that same boat. I love Drinkle and all that he's trying to do. I think it's just going to take a year or two. Got to get your guys in there. Got to build your culture and philosophy. Do get Trey Cornish coming over from Tulane. He was kind of buried on a pretty deep running back room there. I think he's going to be a good running back. You get Nahari Biggins coming back as the team's leading rusher. I don't know if Joey Labus is it. I just don't think that they have really like a quarterback that's a difference maker when you're talking about having to make up so much ground to cover, a little bit of lack in skill guys and question marks on the O-line. But I'm excited to see what type of offense he runs. I think you're going to see a little bit of mix of some different styles, and that's going to be interesting. And they got to find their identity too, right? I think they'll find that early on. But I couldn't put him in the dark horse category for me, but excited to watch him. You mentioned the linebacker. Don't forget about Dakota Cochran. It's a great name too now.
My boy.
What do you think about Central Michigan, Alex?
So I have a text message from the voice of the Chippewas, Adam Jacksa. Adam is become a good personal friend of mine over the last couple of years, saying, quote, "Remember that on August 2nd, I told you Central Michigan will be playing meaningful football in November and have a chance to get to the title game."
See,
Adam is high on this team.
Ooh.
I'm putting them in,
and
my
I
dark
think
horse
it's
category.
because of the defense. Now, I want to say 3 words to you guys. Joe Moore Award. Matthew Drinkle has his work cut out for him coaching this offensive line. It's let's be very honest. You have a job to do. You got to do it well. He can coach this offensive line up now. He coached Army, who, by the way, the first Group of 5 program to win the Joe Moore Award since its inception. If he can get Army to be that good on the offensive line, I'm not saying he does that with Central in year 1, but watch for Central Michigan's offensive line to give Joe Labus a lot of time. You talked about him not being the guy. Maybe he's not. Maybe it is somebody else. Maybe it is Flores. Maybe it's whoever it is. This offensive line is going to give them a lot of time, and that's when things open up. The defense is going to kind of carry them a little bit, and that's fine. The defense has a bunch of great pieces. You got Nari Biggins, Trey Cornish in the backfield. Guys who can absolutely. I like the Trey Cornish pick from Tulane, by the way. I love that they brought him over. Sorry, Tulane. We're really happy to see him in the MAC. But I really think that this is going to be a program that you build the right offensive line, even with the pieces you have now. This is going to be really good. Matthew Drinkle, when I spoke to him at Media Day, we disagreed on best video game out there, so I already don't like the guy. But when we spoke at Media Day, he was talking about how Central has the best capital in the conference, and that's its people. He is excited to get people out for Central Michigan football, and fans make such a difference. It's that fourth quarter push. You're trailing by 4, 3 minutes to go. You're driving, you're at your own 20. The fans make all the difference in the world. And I think we're going to see Drinkle get the fans to come out and be a part of something that may not be a MAC champion this year, but you're going to see them contend for their first title since 2019. Since 2009. They would be back in the championship soon since 2019. It's not going to be this year. But watch out for this team to grow under Matthew Drinkle. I think at best they go 6-6, but you're going to see discipline. That Jim McEwen kind of lost a little bit, and with all due respect to Jim McEwen, I love the guy. This is going to be you are going to see a much different program, and if to kind of a self promo, but my Matthew Drinkle interview is up. So if anybody wants to go listen to that, it's about 12 minutes long. And he talked about just what he's doing in practice, vaguely, but just different things that they're trying to do to establish the right culture. And I got to tell you, I am such a big fan of this guy. I am ready to run through not one brick wall, but 12 brick walls for this guy. I want to go play football for him right now.
He's infectious for sure. And I think the biggest reason why I didn't have them higher this year, outside of the reasons I listed, I mean, you talk about a brutal start to the year.
Yeah.
You go all the way out to San Jose State, who I think is going to be very good. Then at Pitt, then at Michigan. I don't know who made the damn schedule, but give them a chance.
Toledo beat Pitt last year.
And what I worry about that especially though, Jeff, is I talk about the incoming transfers and the offensive line being kind of new. Well, you go play at Michigan and at Pitt, San Jose State, chances are you're going to get some guys banged up, and you may confidence is a big thing now. And if you have an offensive tackle, again, I don't know what Michigan's got out there, but I imagine they got at least one decent pass rusher. If you have an offensive tackle that just goes out there and just gets torched all day long by a defensive, I mean, that'll mess up. It can mess up the whole season. It can mess up a guy's career, one game like that. But now that being said, again, when we talk to him, we talk about you got a Midwest guy, you got an offensive line guy, you got a West Point guy as your freaking head coach, this, and then you go to a school that pumps out a first overall pick in Eric Fisher, it pumps out Bernard Raymond, drawing a blank. They had another early round draft pick. This is O-line U with a prototype O-line coach. I mean, you're exactly right on what you said, Alex. They got a chance to be dominant on the offensive line and discipline and physical. I just think we're some time away from it,
Sure.
know. But after all that we've said, I might slip him in my dark horse category.
Nope. No changing back now.
Anyway, we gotta get moving. Let's try to
Yeah.
move through these ones a little bit quicker, guys. What about Eastern Michigan, Jeff? I thought you'd like Eastern Michigan. You get Noah Kim coming over from Coastal, who you've been high on for 5 years.
Oh,
Yeah,
whoa.
Terry Lockett, one of the better wide receivers in this conference. The O-line should be pretty good. Their center's got another great name, Mickey Rowalinski.
Mm-hmm.
And in all seriousness, I'm joking, but the good thing about him moving to center, that guy's played like every position on the offensive line. So he's going to be a guy that at center will know what everybody's doing. He'll be able to settle everybody down, hold on. He'll sit down on the ball, point out who's who, and everybody will get situated before they go rushing into snapping the ball. So I think the O-line will be pretty good. Noah Kim at quarterback.
That's
I don't know.
I got 2 points I'm going to make on Eastern Michigan. Well, I'm going to make 3. I think Chris Creighton's a great coach, and I think that they've been as good as 5-7 a year ago. Like they've been as good as they've been because of Coach Creighton. Noah Kim. He transfers from Coastal, was at Michigan State. He hasn't won a job at either of those places and hasn't done well. So it's like, could this be the right fit? Yeah. But I don't like outside of, their receiving core is good. It's solid. Terry Lockett's their best guy, in my opinion. But I don't see anybody else like really doing any serious damage. And then everywhere else are just kind of okay. And then I think they have the toughest schedule top to bottom out of anybody. And that's for me what put them in the everybody else category. You look at on the road at Texas State, you get Long Island U, fine, at Kentucky, Louisiana at home, at Central Michigan, at Buffalo, NIU, at Miami, Ohio. That 5-game stretch is absolutely ridiculous. And then before that was just the conference I'm talking about. The 2 games before that are brutal as well. So it's it's just a tough stretch for Eastern Michigan. I'm rooting for Coach Creed, but Noah Kim's going to have to do something he has not shown on film yet. So it's a lot of question marks.
Spoiler, we did our Eastern Michigan preview tonight. Michigan preview tonight. And that's that Ohio coming out of me. Graham and I said that that Eastern could get to 4 or 5 wins this year. I see 4 on the schedule. They're kind of a toss up on a couple of them, but I'm going to give you a spoiler alert for Thursday's episode. LIU, almost a lock. I'm going bold with a win over Louisiana. I'm going bold with a win at Central. And then I'm saying Eastern Michigan wins the Michigan MAC, and they're picking up the win against Western to close out the year.
Wow.
Those are my 4 wins. Graham's got Long Island, a win over NIU, win over Bowling Green, and a win at Ball State. But this is tough sledding for Eastern Michigan. And to all your points on Chris Creighton, one of my favorite interviews every year at Mac Media Day, he's what's right about college football. He's one of those guys that does things right, and I think the Mac more so than some of the power leagues. And I'm sure you guys have seen it with some of the other leagues you guys have covered. There's just something about coaches at the Group of 5 that they're football guys. They're here because they love the game. They're not chasing the paycheck. Maybe some of them are, but Chris Creighton is what's right about college football. We're going to release his interview tomorrow, so Tuesday, and he's got some really cool stories about coaching football on 3 different continents.
Wow.
Just a phenomenal human being. You're right. This Eastern Michigan program has looked for stability for so long. The fans forget, and because Creighton's been so successful, fans forget he has turned around a program that was 2-10, 1-11 consistently. And not only that, players were getting in trouble. You would see it in the news, like, hey, so-and-so arrested, so-and-so. They may not win all the time, but you're not seeing his players in the news. You're not seeing his players get in trouble. They are respectful. They are building something the right way there. And I think Chris Creighton has a job at Eastern Michigan for as long as he wants it, because he's churning out quality men. And I think that sometimes football wins and losses matter, but that is bigger than anything else. He's also the second winningest coach at Eastern Michigan, behind Elton Reinierson, for whom the stadium's named after.
They ain't beating Louisiana, buddy. Maybe we'll see. All right, we gotta get rolling. Couple more teams. We got 4 more teams. Let's talk Akron. Okay. Look, now here's the thing. Akron went 4-8 last year. I get it. It's not very good. It's not. Oh, you're a Mac guy. Unbelievable.
I love Akron. I do. I'm just gonna say this. They're going 12-0 in a year they can't do anything with a 12-0. That's what's gonna happen.
Well, look, they went 4-8 last year, which I get it. It's not very good, but it's the first time that they've won 4 games since 2018. Ben Finley, he's kind of like one of the elder statesmen in the MAC now.
Yeah.
He's been there a little bit. He's been around. I think we've been high on him in the past, and he's at Akron, so it's hard to judge. It's another offensive line full of transfers, so you just have to hope that they're able to gel and mesh together and play. Defensively, look, they gave up 32 points a game last year, and it's all newcomers again this year, so it's just a big question mark. If they get to 4 wins again, I think I think you get any more than that, I think that's a massive success. If they get to 4, I think it's a pretty job well done,
They get Alex Adams back, which is really, really big for this offense. You talked about Ben Finley, Jordan Gant coming up from Tennessee State. I think that's a nice pickup for that backfield. You get Chris Gee back, and then Taven Curry coming over from ULM. There's some quality pieces here. And you retain Israel Polk. Look, I'm just going to be very honest. I love Akron. I love Joe Moorhead. I am probably the biggest Joe Moorhead hype man in the country besides some diehard Akron fans. The academic thing is what's going to be part of his legacy. It was part of his legacy at Mississippi State. They got in trouble there. It's now part of his legacy at Akron. And I want them to get past that. I see 3 wins here for Akron this year.
It's not an easy schedule. Like, you get Wyoming, who I think is going to be better than they were a year ago. At Nebraska's always a tough game. Not that I think Nebraska's good, but they're going to be big. You're just on the road at UAB. UAB will be a little bit better. Then your conference road schedule at Toledo, at Buffalo, at Bowling Green. I mean, you got to play Miami of Ohio as well. You do get them at home. I just think that the schedule is rough on the front end. And outside of like a couple of games against, you got Kent State in there, Ball State, Massachusetts. Like, it's not. I don't see a lot of W's on the schedule. So I'm with you, Alex, in that 3 to 4 would be good.
Graham has 4, so that's where we're at.
Let's talk about the newcomer. Let's talk about UMass. What can they do? I mean, listen, UMass in the long term, I think, can be very successful. I mean, they've got pretty good funding. Seems like they got a pretty active, maybe that's just a couple people. They got a pretty active Twitter. They had a pretty active fan base. So I think they'll be long-term a contender. I think they'll have the donors. I think they'll have the stuff, but I think, it's so hard to judge them, right? You look at last year, they gave up 30 sacks. They only had 16. However, then you go look at their schedule and you're like, well, they're non-conference. They played Mizzou. They played Mississippi State. They played Liberty. They played Georgia. They played UConn. I mean, every MAC team that they played pretty close. Now they lost, all of them, but they played them tight. It's a much easier non-conference this year. It's really hard to tell. 2 or 3 wins, maybe, right?
I think they got some pieces that are interesting. Brandon Rose transfers from Utah. Saw a few snaps last year, not a ton of stuff on him. Grant Jordan transfers over from Yale, who had 2,000 yards on 9 starts. Rocco Griffin, who was buried in that UTSA backfield. I think he's a good player. I think he's going to get an opportunity here to play. T.Y. Harding, I like. Tyreek Kelly is a transfer from South Florida. Again, didn't see a lot of time there, but they got a lot of good receivers down in South Florida. But he's 6'3", 205. So it's like they could be interesting. offensively, not too high on the defense. A lot of no-name guys with not a lot of film and not a lot of stats. So that's never a great thing. But I'm kind of in that boat. Couple wins would be good for the Minutemen.
I really like the Grant Jordan transfer from Yale.
Yeah, me too.
I think that gives them a lot of stability at quarterback. And Brandon Rose, another great there's going to be a battle. I think really, if you look at it, there's a 3-way battle for that quarterback spot. I think Grant Jordan, if just looking at everything, probably has the edge. But I really like this quarterback battle. Everything else is a massive question mark, and I don't want to get don't want to get too much into the weeds of this, but I think defensive line is going to be pretty good. You got some quality guys. Joshua Noble's coming over from Jackson State or Jacksonville. I think he's going to be a really, really good piece. And then you've got Marcus White coming back as a grad student. Tim Grant Randall, another solid piece. After that, there's a little bit of depth issue. For me anyway. And then linebacker, I like the Timmy Hinspeter coming over from Rutgers. That is a huge, huge piece. After that, I feel like it kind of falls off. I'm excited for them to come back and to finally have some stability. You're not going to see them win a lot in year one, if I'm being very frank, if at all. I think, with this schedule, you've got some winnable games, Kent State and Akron. That's about it. And even those, I think that's kind of a 3-way for the bottom. That's where I'm at. Bryant, I think you get a Bryant win. But other than that, that's where I'm at with UMass. Not going to be great this year, but building for the future.
Yep. What about Ball State? I'm interested to see. I want to see him play that big quarterback from Colorado, Walter Taylor, 6'5", 234. I don't know that he's going to get the job or not, but you got an offensive line that's probably not going to be very good. 3 guys that are going to start on that offensive line didn't play, like were out for the year last year, whether it be injury or they just didn't play. So there's not a lot of experience, especially recent experience on the offensive line. The defense was the worst in the league last year, 40 points a game, 455 yards a game. I mean, they got some work to do. And I don't know that they're going to be able to do enough work to better any of these numbers in 2025.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you, Sprouse. You talked about the big transfer coming in. I think Kyle Kelly's moving back to quarterback, if I'm not mistaken. Kawhi Ashley comes over from Kennesaw State. They got a couple pieces. Eric Weatherly's a receiver from Bucknell that I actually really like. Talented kid, very quick, had 835 yards, 8 touchdowns in 2024. So keep an eye out for him. I just don't really know who's going to be throwing him the ball. I'm just not crazy about any of the quarterbacks in this room. You talked about the offensive line. Defense, I don't see a ton of improvement just based off of the guys that are there. And then again, when you go down their schedule, at Purdue, at Auburn, you get New Hampshire at home, then you're at UConn, Ohio right off the bat, Western Michigan right off the bat. It's just going to be tough sledding. And some of these teams, you get beat up early, confidence goes down. I mean, we've saw that with Middle for a couple of years. Like, that's it. You start the year 1-5. I mean, it's hard to overcome that.
Don't you find it funny that a lot of these bigger brand schools, when they always talk about, the Group of Five's record against the SEC is this, it's like, well, yeah, that's because Auburn is playing Ball State.
Mm-hmm.
Auburn ain't going to Toledo. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Your bottom feeders will go to Toledo or play Toledo and lose Mississippi State. You'll lose by a lot, but your brands, your mediocre middle of the road brands that always claim that we always beat up on the Group of Five. Say, well, you beat up on the worst teams in the Group of Five. No disrespect to Ball State, but it's just, anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent and we got to go. So what's your take on Ball State, Alex?
Kyle Kelly is going to be much better than people are going to give him credit for. He is a playmaker. I've seen this kid up close. Caden Simonza did a great job last year. but now he's at Tulane. At least last I saw, he's at Tulane. I know how the transfer portal goes.
He's there.
Yeah, he's still there.
Okay.
He
So
might have just gotten the keys taken from him, but
oh boy. But I really like Kyle Kelly, and I think he's going to be really good. It sounds like he's going to be full time on offense again. And I think that was something under Mike New. He was let's play him both ways. Let's see what he can do. Play him in the. Now he can say, I can learn one playbook, focus on that, and get as good as that as I possibly can. Walter Taylor, I think, might push for the job a little bit. I doubt it. I think it's Kyle Kelly's to lose right now. But this is going to be a team that's going to struggle. Mike Uramovich, he has a great vision, and he's brought some great pieces in from Butler that I think can be beneficial. He knows a couple other FCS guys that he's brought in. But this is going to be, again, a kind of a rebuilding year for Ball State. A lot of these coaches who are new to the league, they're rebuilding programs. Brian Smith is the only one who isn't rebuilding a program. He's taking over a quality program. So I think that's the theme of the year. Mike Uramovich is going to be rebuilding what Mike New had and try to find a way to take it back to quality Ball State football. This is year 101 for Ball State football. So now it's a new 100 years, a new regime. I'm excited for Mike Uramovich, but this is not the year they do anything.
Last but certainly not least, the Golden Flashes of Kent State. This might be the biggest mess to clean up in like the history of college football. When you have a coach that, I don't know if he gets fired or resigns or broke the law or what he's got going, a bunch of credit card debt or what the hell was happening at Kent State. But Matt Carney's coming in to try to fix it. They've just been so bad on both sides of the ball. 13.9 points per game on offense. You're not even getting 2 touchdowns a game for average. You're giving up 44 points a game on defense. And then the biggest problem is, here we go again with these big brand name schools. Oh, you're playing a MAC school, Kent State, Texas Tech, Florida State, Oklahoma, all on the road for Kent State. And then they get both Buffalo and Toledo in conference play. I mean,
it's brutal.
Give them a chance. Give the kids a chance, I will say this, though. The quarterback, do I have the stats correctly that this guy's thrown 1 career interception? Is that right, CJ Montez? Do I have that correct?
That's what I have.
Yeah.
27 career touchdowns, 1 interception. How in the hell does Fordham have a quarterback that throws for 27 touchdowns and 1 interception in 2 years, and they win like 6 games in 2 years? That's my question.
You got to have a defense, though. That's the
well, so that's the problem that we're going to have with Kent State, because anytime you got a quarterback that does not turn the ball over, I mean, you got a chance.
It gives you a
you
chance.
do have a chance, but you got to have a stop or 2 in a game.
Yeah. In fairness, there's just, he has 1 interception from Fordham. He did have 3 from New Mexico. So let's
all right, 4 totals is still a pretty good number.
It's still that's still an insane ratio, but
I'm gonna tell you, I mean, you look at Texas, they get a win game week 1 probably, maybe at Texas Tech, Buffalo, Florida State, Oklahoma. I mean, these people at this university should be ashamed of themselves, taking all this money, pimping out their players like that.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
I mean, you're not giving your school a fighting chance at all. And then you get into conference and you play Toledo, Bowling Green. I mean, NIU. Come on, that's a shame. Sorry, Alex, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good, brother. I think so. I talked to Mark Carney at media day, and I'll make this quick. He understands the challenges of what happens after this year, and his whole focus is trying to leave the place better than what he found it. And I think that's all you can ask for. Under Kenny Burns, they were 1-23. There's an opportunity for Mark. I don't think Mark Carney will get this job as the full-time guy. But I think right now what he can do is develop and get these guys in a place to where there's a kind of a springing off point for whenever they bring in the next coach, Josh Cribbs, to take over. But there's a chance to get the win versus Merrimack at home. I love that. Start the season on a right note. They haven't had a first game win in years. You've started the season 0-3, and then all right, now we get our FCS opponent. Like the season's already to your players lost. It's hard to say, hey, we can do this. After starting 1-3, you got a chance to start 1-0. You get Merrimack at home. Yes, Temple or Texas Tech on the road. Probably not going to win. Never say never, right? But there are winnable games in the schedule, especially in the middle of the schedule. You got Bowling Green, who I think is a big question mark. I think they're a dark horse, but I think they're a big question mark. Ball State, who we'll see, and then Akron. That both fan bases will get up for that game. An Akron fan base who they're literally playing for pride this year. Kent State, who we'd love to end this losing streak against Akron. That's going to be an exciting game, not because of the postseason prizes, but because of how much pride there is between those two communities. They're 10 miles apart.
Wow.
These people brush shoulders daily, whether they realize it or not. And so I'm really excited for that one. And then who knows, maybe there's a coin flip with Central Michigan. Maybe not, but there's a potential for up to 4 wins for Kent State, which sounds insane after what we've seen them do the last couple of years. But there's a potential for up to 4 wins. I think probably 1, maybe 2. Potential for up to 4 this year, which would be a marked improvement over the last several years.
They win 4 games. I think you got to give them the job. No,
I think so.
I mean, jeez.
You would think.
All right. Well, let's get through these big games here. Non-conference games. My biggest one I have on here: Western Kentucky at Toledo. I think Toledo wants revenge for last year, and we talked about it earlier, they can play Kentucky close and or win and beat Western Kentucky, then they will be favored probably in every other game the rest of the way. So again, this might be a long shot, but 11-1 or 12-0 Toledo, they're in the conversation.
Never know. I got Buffalo at Minnesota to open the game August 28th on a Thursday night. Take them down. Take them down, Buffalo.
I'll give you my 3. Toledo at Kentucky, West Virginia at Ohio. That's going to be fun.
That is.
And then NIU at Mississippi State.
Kudos for West Virginia.
Can NIU get 2 years in a row where they go beat somebody?
Can Mississippi State lose 2 years in a row to the Mid-American Conference?
Oh, yes, they can. Let's talk about in-conference game. I'm going last game of the season, Friday night, the day after Thanksgiving, Ohio at Buffalo. That is the only game between Ohio, Buffalo, Toledo, that little trio there that we talked about being favorites / contenders. I think winner of that game, spoiler alert, plays Toledo in the title game.
I had that as my second one, and I put in parentheses, cold as shit. Toledo at Miami, November 12th. A lot of storylines in that game. It's a lot of implications. Should be a good one.
I really like that game. Toledo at Miami, Ohio at UB, NIU at UMass. As I mentioned, the MAC really just kind of shoving them up there. And I'm really excited to see how NIU handles that, because that's going to be a big trip. Just travel wise for the players. So I'm excited for that one. And then of course I wish NIU's the best as they wrap up their final season in the MAC.
All right, let's make some picks. Jeff, do we have voicemails, by the way?
No, not this week.
Good, because we went a little long today.
Somebody really wanted to talk about Buffalo.
Sorry. I did, though. It would have been worse if I had the full time there. Anyway, sure. Speaking of Buffalo, I got Buffalo v. Toledo in the championship game. I got it. This is pretty chalk this year. I'm picking. And not for any other reason. I talked about it earlier. I think they're pretty even across the board. I think Toledo has the edge at quarterback. I think you could maybe give Buffalo a slight O-line, slight defensive edge. But probably 2 months ago, I blindly picked Buffalo to win this thing, just like talking just off air. So I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to stick with Buffalo. Give me the Buffalo win over Toledo and Detroit.
There you go. I like that. Yeah, I got Toledo and Buffalo as well in the championship game. But I think the Rockets, man, they're too good. I think they're too good at every position, top to bottom on that roster. And then Jason Candle's a hell of a coach. Give me the Rockets to get a MAC championship win.
The pressure's on.
Tell us what it's really going to be. Go ahead.
So it's going to be
NIU
UMass versus no, right? Yeah, it's gonna be Toledo Buffalo, and I think Toledo wins it. Same reasons you just said, Jeff. Toledo is going to be so good at every position. I think this is the best Toledo team we've seen in a couple of years. And I think it's less reliant on one or two superstars. It's just going to be a more complete team across the board. And I think that's something Toledo hasn't had in quite a while. So I'm really excited to see what they do. Give me the Rockets in Detroit versus Buffalo to win the MAC championship and go to the college football playoffs.
Bang.
Whoa, drops a bomb at the end there. Now,
or did he drop a rocket? Well, I guess a rocket goes up, but then it does come down. I don't know. Anyways.
Well, yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
All right. Hey, Alex, appreciate you so much, dude.
Thanks, Alex.
Hopefully we can get up there to MAC country again this year and hang out with you if we can make our paths cross again.
You always have an invitation to come hang out at Division III Heidelberg if you need it.
Hey, man. It'll be no time. They'll be moving up into the ranks. They'll be in the Conference USA in no time. Hey, we appreciate you guys for watching and listening as always. Make sure you check out our other conference previews. We've done all of them now except the Sun Belt, which we will hit next week. And then the following week, hey, it's week 0 preview time. We get ready for some football. Make sure you follow us on all the social platforms at Group of Five Guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel on the Believe Network. Have a fantastic rest of your night and a fantastic week. We're out of here.